I got.
All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Faces of Business. I am your host, Damon Pistolka, and I am certainly excited for our special guest today because we have Mr. Dennis Riley from Goals to Results, and we're going to be talking about marketing strategies and automation that drive sales. Dennis, thanks for being here today, man.
Hey, I love being with you. So this is going to be fun. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, Dennis, we always like to start out by letting our guests share a little bit about their history and how they got where they are today. I mean, you've been in business for a bit and you've done some cool stuff and you're doing even cooler as the days go on. Let's hear about it.
Sure. I started business in 1994 and I'm still here. So I'm doing something right, at least.
There you go.
But yeah, so it's always been data related. You know, back in 94, it was client server before the internet and all that stuff. And so the good news, the reason why I'm still around after all these years, because it's adaptability. So the tools come and go. All right.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the tool is. It's you want to help your clients communicate with their clients and get the best results for it. And however that is done online, that's how we do things. And so, like I said, we started before the internet, client server stuff, and now we're doing CRM stuff, and it's just amazing. It really is the key thing. That the two things that tied me together for all these years are two things: knowing the data and problem solving and learning to adapt. If you can do those three things, you know, you're fine. The problem is when you're married to one thing and it doesn't work, a tool doesn't work, and you're like, oh, I can't go any further. It's like, no. And you want to make sure, and we were talking offline about this before, is that you want to make sure that whatever tools you use, make sure it lets you go to talk to other tools and there's no ceiling on that. And that's what I help my clients with. And the main thing is to communicate with their clients as much as possible.
Yeah. And you brought up a good point before. Now we're going to talk about a little bit more. I think that's one of the things that really has changed over the last decade is the fact that a lot of the applications have APIs now or ways to import, export data automatically, semi-automatically, or periodically that really allow you to talk between systems. Whereas before, if you're a manufacturer, you get your ERP system and that's what you use. And that doesn't talk to anything else. That doesn't do, that does what the ERP system does. And you better hope it has it in there, or you're just doing it in a separate system completely and it doesn't talk. So, but let's go down that road a little bit. Just the communication between systems. What has that really done in the last number of years here to help people solve these problems?
Oh yeah, it's perfect. This is a perfect scenarios here. Is that you used to get a tool, and like I said, that you invested. There was usually a lot of money invested in this tool. A lot of, like, we come in, we do custom software, whatever. So a lot of money invested in the tools, and you were pretty much married to that tool, and you didn't want to go elsewhere because I invested all this money. So a lot of my clients, especially the ones older and older, they had to, when it was time to get a new tool, we had to come in, export, import, and write all these new things. It really was a disaster. It was like when I use the word married, it's kind of like that, married divorce type deal is really a disaster. Well, I probably about 5-10 years ago, whatever, probably more 5 years ago, that you're right, APIs came along and said, look, I'm writing this tool right here. If you want to come into my tool and get data or me export data, you can do that. By doing that, what happens is now you can pick the tool that maybe gets 80% of what you do or 75% of what you do. And that other 25%, you can pick other tools and then have them talk to one another. I mean, nowadays, people go, no, I want to do invoicing, but I have QuickBooks over here. Okay, well, we have a tool here that you do in the CRM that, when you get a new client, we'll create the invoice and we'll create the record in QuickBooks, and you make the invoice in QuickBooks. So now you're not learning a new tool. Oh, I know that I do everything in QuickBooks with my invoices and stuff. Well, then do that. don't stop using QuickBooks. And if you have a CRM, have the two come together. And now you've just built up your system even more.
Yeah. Yeah. That is cool. That is cool because that is one of the big things that you see now is the systems being able to talk allows you to use specialized resources according to your need, according to your industry, according to your individual business. And that, like you said, if you're going to keep solving problems, you have to understand how to make these things talk together and how they work and really find the best solution rather than be married to a single thing.
And the interesting thing is like when I walk into a new client, they say, oh, well, we have this system over here, and then we have this system over here, and we don't know what's going on, and we can't talk to him. But, oh, it used to be, hey, we can build a system for you, but you're going to have to get rid of that one and that one and that one and that one. Now you come in and say, okay, look, you have your ERM over here. You got your QuickBooks over here, but this ERM does nothing to outreach to your clients. And so what you do is you have a CRM that you export this data to the CRM, outreach to clients or potential leads, whatever. When they get the lead, boom, you can move the data two ways. One goes to the invoice in QuickBooks and one goes into your ERM as a new record coming in.
Yeah.
Or you have a website and now you put a form on the website. That form goes right to the CRM. And then when there's inquiry, you can now have workflows that say, hey, when a form comes in, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And we talked before, you can throw in ChatGPT into all this stuff. The good news is, remember we talked about problem solving before? It used to be, we come to a solution and go, oh, I wish we had a tool for that. Or our tool doesn't use that. You don't have that anymore because it's now instead of our tool doesn't use it, it's what tool is out there to work with us and to integrate into the system we're already building.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. I think you touched on this without saying it specifically, though, is we have so many applications to choose from now because of the SaaS economy and the way things are made. Is like you can find your specific thing for this little niche deal that you're trying to do. And it's probably pretty darn good, probably not flexible. And like you said before, the API communication makes it easier for things to talk together.
It used to be that you had to like almost put square pegs into round holes and whatever left over. Oh, well, we get 90% of it. You don't have to do that anymore. So now you can say, okay, look at this tool does do 90% of it, but this tool does the other 10%. So, and they both integrate quite nicely with the tool you're using. So why wouldn't you do it? And the good news is, if you know how this works, tools have a shelf life. Okay.
Yeah.
So now these shelf lives, it's like, okay, this one doesn't work anymore, but this one does it better. We'll just take this one out and put it in, and you're not redoing the whole system, just that piece of the tool that you're using.
That's a great point because as things change, like just say, for example, AI integration or an AI tool replaces 2 or 3 because it can, make its own decisions or whatever in that ecosphere there. That would be a great example where you're just replacing tools and you've got one better, more efficient that goes in and takes over and does the same thing or better.
Yeah, think about like outreach. Outreach right now, it's emails and and texting and all that stuff. We don't know what's going to happen 2 years from now. It could be something else. It doesn't matter because once you get the outreach and they're interested, the data still has to be stored somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter that now you're not using emails anymore, but you're using something else. I mean, the interesting thing is a lot of people don't realize this, but when you're on a desktop and you go into Google and search something, but when you're on a phone and say, hey, Siri, get me this, they're not using that Google thing. They're using another engine and an AI thing. So it doesn't matter how that stuff comes in anymore. But once the people finally get to your website or finally get in and we want to do business, you got to store the data somewhere. So we still have that data portion where we need it.
Yeah. 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 I want to say real quick, Usman, thanks for being here today. He said, greetings from Usman. How are you all there? I'm not explaining. I don't understand exactly what he says, but good work. Best wishes to each of you and everyone there. Thanks, Usman. Thanks for being here today. I want to thank everyone for listening. That's out there. That's awesome. If you got questions, comments, want to ask Dennis something, go ahead. Let's hear them. So, Dennis, now we've been fortunate enough to work on some interesting data projects from beginning to end, and now some longer term even. So, what are some of the things that you're seeing where people are able to take, say, a legacy system, like in manufacturing, for example, an ERP system, and it just is, that to me is like trying to get the government to move, right? It is changing an ERP system because it's such a god awful process that you would never really want to do it unless, you're going to die if you had to do it, or do it, right? But how do you see these new tools being able to really help the legacy systems?
Well, interesting thing is that so if you have a legacy system and they're like, okay, hey, does it do an import and export? No, it doesn't. Or it can only import but can't export, right? You can work around that. So for example, on the thing that we're working on together, it's like, okay, I'll start with a CRM because we're going to do all this stuff. So we'll store some data there, but we're also going to move it to the legacy, or it came from the legacy, but we're going to enter it in. Now, with a legacy, unfortunately, if there is no import and export, you're going to have to do some manually input that came. So whatever. So in the situation where we work on together, there has to be that manual input because there is no tie in there. But in other ones, what we do is that, hey, look, we talked about this before. Say it's really personal data. It's HIPAA compliant. Okay. Well, the HIPAA compliant stuff, and they already have all their rules and regulation, but I would love to do outreach and all that stuff. How you do it? Well, what you can do is just export some of the data or start with the CRM. And when you get the stuff in, bring it into the legacy system. And the thing that's great there is that they still have their data, they're not upreaving, but then all the new stuff happens. And so now once you get, again, like what we try to do is we put a CRM in as soon as possible, because that way we can now do a lot of communication using that CRM. And the CRM that we use, it allows you to have all these API calls and stuff like that. And you start to use some of these other tools that says, oh, look, this CRM can't retrieve data, but you know what? This tool does. And so it helps out that you don't have to say, you know what, I'm not using it. I need this. Some people are really tied to that system. They can't move. They can't. So instead of saying, sorry, we can't help you, or, hey, you can't use that anymore, and we're going to bring everything over. It's like, you know what? Let's work around this. Like we talked about before, problem solving. What do you want to get out of this? Oh, I want to do this. I want to outreach to my clients. I want to be able to have some automation that, if you're working on some data and that data triggers something else, we need that to do something. But this old system doesn't do any of that triggering. We have to do everything manually. Like, oh no, let's bring some of this data in that allows the triggering, and it's usually date driven. So one of the things that we're working on together is that it goes for different stages based on dates. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if something is in one stage for too long, you can notify someone that says, hey, look, you got to move this over, instead of before they didn't know it was going that long, or things might fall through the cracks. A new CRM and a new system there will help that automation along. So it help the people who are supporting the system be able to support it a lot more.
Yeah. You make a great point there, because I think one of the things that really is just an integral part of any of these, when we're talking about systems like a CRM system now, the automation is such an integral part of it, because we look at the sales process all the way from the time somebody first knows of us, reaches out, whatever you want to say, that first interaction, whether it's they downloaded something from your website, they had a quote request, whatever that is, that CRM can literally make sure that that person gets immediate confirmation that they've been heard, that both externally and internally, people are reminded that we need this information. This is due, whatever it is, to keep things rolling through, to be able to get that customer or potential customer what the information they need so they can make a good decision.
The interesting thing is, and a lot of people say this, it's like, oh, automation is, I can see that a mile away, and you're going to lose people like that because there's no human intervention. And the exact opposite is not true too, saying, I don't need any of this automation. I do everything. I like to do the combo, the
Yeah.
tedious stuff that gets you involved. Let that be automated. But so maybe, like you said, an inquiry, stuff like that, let that be automated. But as soon as you have like someone really interested and they've gone through the door, you bring in the human and say, okay, but the automation says to that person, hey, look, you need to reach out to this person right here. And you can say, here, this is what you say. We don't care, but do that one-to-one thing, because then the person on the other end goes, hey, this is a real human being talking to me. All right, now I'm getting somewhere. Hey, they care about what I'm trying to do. So I always try to blend in the automation and the human aspect together, because I think that's the best 1-2 punch instead of each extreme. And it really works wonders. I mean, it was kind of funny because it was one time that, again, these tools can be anywhere. LinkedIn, everyone loves LinkedIn to do communication, but, they have its limitations. Every program has its limitations. What we did is we used another tool that combines Sales Navigator so that we can automate the reach out process. And what we did is, so I was using it for my communications, and LinkedIn, I had several thousands of things, and I just slowly put a message out to these people saying, hey, haven't connected in a while, hope things are fine, this is what we're doing, let's catch up. And one person reached back to me and says, oh, Dennis, I haven't heard from you in a while, let's get together, and blah, blah, blah. I got on the phone, I did a Zoom call with them, and she was like going, this is great. We started talking about all this stuff, and I talked about automation. She goes, oh, I can't stand those automations. They never work. I'm like, really? We're talking because of an automation. She went, what? Because that's what happened. I had that automation tap the person on the shoulder, and then the moment that person realized, hey, we haven't talked in a while, I come in with a personal message and start doing something, and boom, I was able to reacquaint with someone.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that I've used in my automation, even for this show, right? Because I used to always figure out, oh, here's the people that I want to do, or people that past guests you've been on the show before. And now the automation simply goes, okay, I can say, okay, I want to see if Dennis wants to talk again about being on the show. Well, it sends you an email. Like you said, today, we haven't talked for a while. If you want, jump on the link here, schedule a time. Let's talk about what we want to be on the show, or talk about on the show next time. And it means that I can actually reach out to people now, because before, for me to sit there, type up an email, put the link in it, do everything, it doesn't sound like much, but when you're really jamming and trying to get things done, it makes it a heck of a lot easier if I just go, okay, click. These are people that I want to see what they're up to, and get on the show and talk about some interesting stuff. And these things just save these little chunks of time for us all the way through. And if you're a salesperson and you depend on whether or not you're getting more sales in, it can mean the difference between you meeting your goals or not.
Well, time is the biggest commodity right now. Things are flying so quickly now. I mean, it's amazing how fast things go. Like I said, I've been in business for 30 years, and like each decade, it just gets faster and faster. And now with all the automations, people are jumping on that, and they can do things a lot quicker. So now it used to be that at the beginning, it was like, hey, I'm using this tool to get ahead. Now it's, I'm using this tool to keep up.
Yes. Because you have to.
You have to.
Yeah.
If you don't, you fall behind. Like, I love these people who say, AI is going to put me out of business. No, you not using AI will put you out of business.
Yeah.
And that's what people are doing. But it's like, these tools are really, and that's why I like to say to people, people say, I'm not sure if I'm interested in doing this. I'm like, like they might say, hey, I'm not sure if I invest the time and money right now. And I usually turn around and says, can you afford not to do this?
Yeah.
because that's what's going on now is that it used to be, like I said, the system was an added stuff. It's a necessity now. And you
Yeah.
need someone to come in there and say, this is how it has to get done and stuff like that. And the tools can be intertwined. Like I said, there's the CRM that I use is fantastic. We talked about this high level. It's a great CRM, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyone who's out there seeing it, you got to check that tool out. It's amazing. If you need help with checking it out, let me know. But the tool is amazing, but it, just like everything, it has it's good for this, but it can do this, but it's great for this.
Yes.
So the stuff over here on the edges that you need done, it may not be the best interface for it, or it may not be the best set of tools for it, but using those webhooks, using that, those calls, those API calls, you just opened up a whole new world. And like I said, I've had people use that CRM just for a CRM. I've had other people that they use everything. Their whole work is in the CRM. It's like it goes from one thing to another. I have that, and like I said, I have these clients that have the system that they don't want to leave, but they know its limitations. I come in with the CRM, and now it's a nice little bouncing thing, and then I can now integrate with these things. You can't get your calendars integrated, get all this stuff integrated. It's great because now it now opens up your world to, like you say, reach out more. And so that, because it's all about results and time. How are you going to save the time to do something? The automation, especially tedious stuff that's repetitive over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
Yep. That's for sure. And the thing is that you talked about something before about the tools talking together, even like the old school web forms, that we got tons of them out there that people have built quote builders. They built forms on there. Now being able to, the way that things talk, you just hook the things together. You don't have to go out there and redo your website or anything like that. You just take the information that's getting submitted on the form. So you talked about earlier about the personal touch in the process. We're just helping a client right now, manufacturing client, that they get inquiries, quotes through their website because they've got a quote builder. They spend a lot of money building a quote builder on their website, but they always respond to the quotes with a human. But now what we do is it comes from the quote builder, goes into the CRM. So we log that we got this quote. They weren't logging that they had these quotes other than in their ERM or their email system. And so now we have a log of each quote from each potential customer, and they can have multiple quotes, of course, per customer. But every time it comes in and it says, okay, Damon, you're the inside salesperson for this client. You need to respond to this quote. And they go into the system and they respond to the quote in the system. And that customer got an answer to the quote really quickly, because as soon as the quote comes in, the customer now gets notified, which they didn't do that before. Acknowledge that we received your quote. And then it immediately sends the internal notification to Damon, the salesperson, and says, you've got a quote here. Let's get it responded to. And these kind of things are taking this combination, like you said, of things communicating together and mixing the human in to really give it a personalized touch.
And the interesting thing is, well, you are saying, you're exactly right. It's like someone says, hey, look, I have a website. It's in WordPress. Great. I have a calendar. I use Calendly, and I do this. And oh, you know what? I have MailChimp that does this. None of them talk to one another. Okay.
No.
So what happens is, yeah, great. You have all these tools, but so for example, the website, where's that data go? Well, it goes right into my email without thousands of other emails you get a day. Okay.
Yep.
It goes into your email. And if you're busy, you don't reply to it. Too bad they couldn't go to a central area and have someone reply or something reply. And then when you're setting up calendars in Calendly, what happens afterwards? If someone's brand new with you, you set up Calendly, you don't have their information. You just have it in the Calendly. All right. Imagine if now you have a calendar that syncs in with Google or Outlook, whatever, and that stores that data inside a CRM. And then same with the MailChimp. It's like, okay, yeah, I have a MailChimp there, but are those clients? Are those leads? I don't know. Well, how do you get to that? Well, yeah, I can do that inside MailChimp, but yeah, now you don't have everything else. If all of that's the hub, you make the hub the CRM. and all these things are connected around it. Now it's not, especially I've seen this, business owners always used to be the funnel, and they would be the blockage of the funnel. Now you have that hub that business owner doesn't have to be the center of the hub anymore. All right. So the business owner can do what it's supposed to do. And you have the system reaching out. And like you said, a hybrid of people doing it. And the good news is when things fall through cracks, emails go out.
Yes.
Hey, this person hasn't been referred to in the last couple of days. What's going on here? It's great. I said, if you connect them all together.
That one thing is, because we said the same thing in the meeting I was talking about today. It was, hey, humans aren't as good on their best day. We're not going to be 100%. We're certainly not going to be 100% consistently all the time. So as you said, the process is set up so that, hey, I gave you a reminder that, Damon, you need to respond to that quote. And if you don't tell me, the system, that you responded to that quote, or I see that your email went back out to them automatically and know that's what it was, then I'm going to ping you again. And after that, if I don't hear, if you don't get it done, then your boss is going to get an email the next day or a text or whatever it needs to be, so that we make sure this gets done in a timely manner.
And the great news is all this stuff can be put in pipelines as well. And so therefore, like you said, if there's 5 stages to a lead, from a lead to a sale, and something gets clogged in the 4th stage, and not only are you pinging it out to, like you said, but your boss is looking at the overhead of the ping, of the pipeline, say, why are we not solving this one? Why is it stuck on number 4?
So we have everybody jammed up.
Exactly. And so it's not like it's a haha, I told you, but it's just more of it's a consistency. It's more efficient. And so now it's amazing what you can do on that. And especially people who have lists. I had a client, a brand new client last week. He gave me his list of 7,000 records. I said, would you reach out to all these people? No. I'm like, there is money there. There is so much money there because you've known these people over time. And he was another like 30-year business owner, and he had them all. And I'm like, yeah, most of them are probably, not around anymore, but still, you don't think there is activity in that list? There absolutely is activity in that list.
Mm-hmm. And just the simple, like you said, simple outreach with helpful information makes a huge difference in just letting people know you're around.
The key is communication and no matter what you're doing, if you're communicating to your outside world and communicating in the inside, because, if people know what's going on, most of the problems happen because of lack of communication.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a great point. And it's totally true. So what really has you excited about the systems, what's happening, and where things are going?
It's kind of funny, this AI stuff with ChatGPT, and I love it. I love when ChatGPT came out and it was like the only game in town. And now that it has all the competitors, everyone's trying to outbid themselves to see what can happen. And things are flying so quickly and learning things. And so you're seeing new things happen almost on a daily basis. I love that. Again, it's the communication. If you can get there faster, that's the key, and it's so great that you can do that. It's so great that you can have these things work for you as much as possible. And like I said, it really isn't just automation, just human. It's the blend that puts it together. And that is so the key to this. But, it's kind of funny because it's always, especially if you work on the CRM long enough, you're going to run into problems. It's like someone says, like a perfect example, someone said to me, about a month ago, hey, look, does this CRM have backups? And it has a system backup, but not to the granular way. And we said, what's going to happen? I need a backup. I'm like, all right. So what we did is we took another tool, Cloudflare, okay? And what we did is when we added data into the CRM, we had a little trigger, take that data and move it to Cloudflare as well, all right? So now it's great because double redundancy in data, which means so if something ever happened to the server at high level, you still have your data in Cloudflare and vice versa. But now the key thing is that now that's being in Cloudflare, you already have your instant backup. But B, there's another limitation on some of the CRM stuff, is that it somehow has trouble retrieving the data. It can put data in like that, and you can access it at any time, but retrieving it on a screen is tough. Well, my data is already in Cloudflare. So now I have this code that you can write in. Cloudflare doesn't use code, but there's another thing called GitHub that you can connect to Cloudflare, which writes code. And then in high level, what you do is you write a page and say, okay, here's this code that's external, get it from this one. And all of a sudden you pass it what you're looking for, the key. So for example, in high level, there's always a key. It's either going to be your email or your phone number. Okay, those are the unique keys. So if you want to know, hey, give me all the data on this phone number, and you're using the web server, you just pass the phone number to the Cloudflare, and all of a sudden the GitHub will get it for you and retrieve it and put it on the screen. Boom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. You're a great example of how systems talking together, the variety of systems we have at our fingertips, to just make things happen that we couldn't, 10 years ago easily.
Yeah. Again, and you're right. And it's also talking to say, what do we want here? What's the problem? Figuring out, well, forget about the tools. What's the problem and what's your end result? And you're like, well, I want to get here. And like 5 years ago, sorry, pal, good luck to you. You're going to have to humanize that or something like that. Now it's like, okay, let's see what tools are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And chances are you will find the tool.
Yep. And then, like you said, too, the AI piece in it, when you find that tool, you've probably got some AI help in there to get it set up and get it going.
Perfect example. I was doing, like I said, that Cloudflare to the GitHub. I'm like, I don't know. It's been a while since I wrote this code. I went to ChatGPT, said, look, this is what I want to do in GitHub. Code written, plugged in, tried to do some modifications. We had to go back and forth. Had the whole thing done in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to call up a coder to do this or whatever. I just did it.
Yeah. So you brought up data. People talk about this, and like you said, a great example. You've got that 30 plus year business owner sitting there, had all those email addresses. They don't have that CRM. They don't have a system for outreach. I mean, is there a way for us to really quantify that? What is that value that they're leaving behind there? Because it just really seems like not having that data in something where you can do that communication is really costing a lot of businesses money, and to the point that it could be detrimental to their business.
I was talking to someone a while ago, and I used the analogy. I'm like, you're in a room, it's a hot summer day, and you have a window AC unit on. And so you have that one window that the AC is just blowing on you. All right. And that is the leads coming in. And all business owners get more leads, get more data, new clients. But then there's a window right behind you that's open, and it's just all that nice air is flowing out. That's your past list. So it's great that you're getting new clients and stuff. You know how hard it is to get a brand new client who doesn't know you at all, and you have to form that new relationship. It's great. It's the honeymoon stage. Life is great. But you know what? There's a lot of people back there who already know about you, okay, or know of you, or know people who could use you, and you're not reaching out to them. That to me is like, why? Because it really is, especially like I said, and I was talking to that client today. I'm like, you have 7,000 records. I can guarantee you there's at least one sale on that 7,000 records.
Mm-hmm.
It might take a while to get there, but what I'm saying is, and how realistic is it's only going to be one sale? You know what I mean? There's so many things that they could do. Think about this, okay? Let's use that 7,000. Yeah, of course it's 30 years. let's even say like 2/3 of it is garbage. It's just gone. Okay. You still have, like, say you even only have 1,000. So say 6,000 is garbage. They don't, there's an AOL dot extension. It's just
Yeah.
not there anymore. Netscape, whatever. But now you got that 1,000, and you just have to reach out to them and say, hey, look, I know it's been a while since we reached out, but this is the stuff we're working on lately. If it interests you, or you know anyone that might use this service, please let me know. I'd love to get in touch with you.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't think that's going to start a conversation?
Yeah, that's really where this having the ability to do this with your past customers is such a powerful tool, because you're sitting here today without it. What are you going to do?
Oh, you're going to get on the phone. Even if let's just say you had that, again, this was in an Excel spreadsheet. Actually, it's in Outlook, so we exported it. But imagine if you didn't have automation, someone goes, okay, I'll take care of that. Even if you cut and paste an email, how long does that one person take to get 7,000 out the door?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then those 7,000 come in, and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? You have that automated, and see what happens. See what happens. Who cares if 6,000 don't exist anymore? Okay. And see, to me, that's totally different than cold emailing someone, because it is your list. Now, if you just bought that list, hey, I have a list of 7,000. Where'd you get it from? Oh, I paid, someone over here, and they gave me all the X, Y, and Z of this area. Well, that's a different story. That's a cold email.
Yeah.
But if you have a list of people that know of you, have done services for you, or here's another thing, or were potential leads, and at that moment in time wasn't the right fit. Why wouldn't it be now? It could be now. Something that was done maybe a year or two ago. You send them out something right now, maybe it is the right time. Or 3 years ago, guess what? What they wanted to do, you couldn't do, but now you have the tools to do it. Boom.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you see these systems changing, the small business down the street?
And that's a great question, because, and I always tell people, look, when I don't know how to do your job, okay? I don't want to know how to do your job. I don't have to come in and learn what you do. Okay. Yes, I do ask the questions and all that stuff, but most of the time they're good at what they do. We'll take what you have. Don't worry about it. We will do the outreach and all that stuff, and just tell us what to say. Or if you're not sure what to say, we'll write something else and say, hey, is this good? And what we usually do is we try to know their, after a while, we know their way of talking. And so so it makes it sound like them. It's not just this generic thing that someone who doesn't have that tone won't say that. So we try to find their tone. But yeah, it doesn't matter, especially the people down the street who don't have a system at all. And they say, hey, you know what? I've done this for a while. I don't need a system. Well, I ask you, hey, do you need more income coming into your business? And how you getting that? And even if you don't need more income and you want to keep things up, if you don't need more income, are you keeping track of, or are you keeping up to date and in line with your current clients? Because if you don't want more income and those clients drop off, guess what?
Yeah.
You need more income. So it's not just getting new revenue and getting new clients. Are you making sure that you're reaching out to your current clients to keep them up to date? And again, most problems happen because of lack of communication. All right. So if you have a client that you're working with, and it's been a long-term client, but they haven't heard from you lately, but they're still paying your bill, eventually someone in that office is going to say, why are we paying Dennis this?
Yeah.
Dennis who? Oh, he has done nothing for us. But even though that you have, if you don't reach out to them and keep them top of mind, they'll never, you keep telling them, these are results I'm getting. Do you want to improve your results? So if you're always saying, hey, look, this is what we're doing, the valuable person is never going to be questioned.
Yeah.
If they're valuable to you and some other person comes in and says, why are you paying? Don't even touch Dennis. Dennis is doing what he's doing. You find some other ways to cut. I'm not cutting Dennis. It's a totally different situation, only because I kept up with the communication. If that lack of communication happens, why would they keep me? What value am I doing? And most people don't understand what's going on. Even if they say, if I do a system with them and it's constantly doing it and I don't keep up with them, but all these things are happening that they don't know about, they're going to say, you know what? Dennis used to be all these results. I don't see the results anymore. They see it, but they can't
Yeah.
quantify. That's the reason.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. The communication is huge anytime. And when you can automate it and make it meaningful for the person receiving it, it's just better.
Yeah. Again, you blend the automation and the human together. And so that usually, it's kind of funny. There's another client I have that, you know, I don't go specifically to get them leads, but I save them so much time in their business that they have time to get leads. And
Yeah.
so if I don't, like, you know, and I keep telling them, let's improve this, let's improve, and they're like, oh my God, we love you, you know, because now they're saving them time to go out to do what they really need to do. And
Mhm.
that is just as important as, hey, look, I'm a lead generator, I'll get you all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Giving them time to do what they need to do.
Exactly. It's
Giving
all
them back.
about saving them time.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, Dennis, it's been awesome talking today, man. It's so much fun because you are a legend in my mind anyway, and doing these automations and really putting things together that do solve these problems. I mean,
Yeah.
because there are problems, systems don't talk, things just could flow better if we could do this. And it's great getting to talk to you today, hearing some of your insights. Just thanks for being here today.
Appreciate it. You know, it's always a great time seeing you and
Yeah.
talking to your fans.
Yeah. So, Dennis, what is the best way for people to find you?
Go to my website, goalstoresults.com, and go there and fill out a form. And guess what? That goes to my CRM, which will come tap me on the shoulder.
Nice. Nice. Well, thanks for being here today, Dennis. I want to say thanks, Paul. You dropped a couple comments in there. Thanks so much. We got Usman dropped a comment. Paul dropped a comment. He dropped a LinkedIn or Substack link. Something about CRMs. Yeah, I'm telling you, if you haven't gone out and done some research on Reddit or something in our CRM forums or something like that, you definitely need to give it a look, because CRMs are not your Salesforce bloated thing from the past. They're nimble, they're easy to implement, and they are very effective. So thanks for being here, Dennis. We'll wrap up offline. If you got in here late and you didn't hear Dennis from the beginning, you want to go back, roll this thing back to the beginning and start over, because he dropped some golden nuggets in there. If you want to talk to Dennis, reach out on Goals to Results and get a hold of him there. Thanks, everyone. We'll be back again next week.